You cleaned it twice, you stored it right, and it still crackles. Because the crackle isn't dirt. Japanese pressing engineers figured out in the 1970s that most crackle in clean records is electricity, not contamination. And they built a hand technique around a $24 compound that changes the electrical behavior of the vinyl itself. So why has nobody in the Western record cleaning world ever told you that the groove isn't the problem? I want to tell you about a record I almost gave up on. A 1972 Victor pressing of Harvest by Neil Young. Japanese market copy, bought for $28 at a record fair in Newtown. No scratches visible under the light. Groove walls looked clean under inspection. I had cleaned it properly. Carbon fiber brush, full revolution, correct angle. I had run it through a spin clean with distilled water and a few drops of Kodak PhotoFlow at the correct dilution. I had let it dry completely on a record drying rack for 40 minutes before I played it. Side 1 was perfect. Side 2, second track, every single play, a sharp electrical snap. Not the warm crackle that some people romanticize. The hard kind. The kind that pulls you out of the music like someone flicking a light switch mid-sentence. You stop hearing the song. You start counting snaps. I spent 3 years chasing this. I tried Last Record Cleaner, which is a genuine product and I am not dismissing it. I tried an enzyme pre-treatment soak before the wet clean. I borrowed a degritter ultrasonic machine from a friend. It retails at just over $1,000 and ran 6 of my worst records through it on a Tuesday afternoon, watching the bubbles work for 20 minutes per side. Everything helped. Nothing solved it. The snaps would be gone for a week, 2 weeks if I was lucky. Then they would be back. Not always the same spot. Sometimes the same spot. Always back. And I started thinking I was dealing with something permanent. That some records were just like this. That the crackle was in the groove wall itself, cut into the lacquer at the mastering stage, baked into the pressing 50 years ago, and no amount of cleaning was going to touch it. I was wrong about that. And the reason I was wrong is the same reason most people chasing crackle with cleaning fluid are wrong. I was solving the wrong problem entirely. Quick word before I go further. The old methods my family uses, there is more of it than fits in any one video. I gathered the whole of it into a book you can buy in our pinned comment below. The book is the long version. If you want it, it is there. I will not mention it again. Here is what I did not understand for 3 years. A record that crackles on every play, even after a thorough clean, is not simply a dirty record. Or it might be dirty too, but the dirt is not why it crackles. The crackle is electricity. The vinyl itself is holding a static charge, and the stylus sliding through the groove is generating more charge with every revolution. That charge attracts microscopic particles out of the air around your turntable, dust, skin cells, whatever is floating in the room, and pulls them directly into the groove while the record is spinning, while it is playing. You clean the record, you play it, you are recontaminating it in real time, and then you wonder why it sounds worse by track 3 than it did at track 1. That is why. The contamination you removed is not coming back. New contamination is arriving, magnetically drawn in the time it takes you to get from the opening track to side 2. If the crackle is not dirt, then why has every solution in the record cleaning world for the last 50 years been designed to wash things off? PVC, polyvinyl chloride, which is what records are pressed from dye, is one of the most electrostatically active materials on Earth. It builds charge through what physicists call the triboelectric effect, friction between surfaces. Every time the stylus contacts the groove wall, those two materials are rubbing together thousands of times per second, and that friction generates charge. Every time you sleeve a record, the friction between the PVC and the paper inner sleeve adds more. Every time you unsleeve it, every time you set it on a felt mat, every time you lift it. There is a specific ranking of materials called the triboelectric series, and PVC sits at the far negative end of it. It is extraordinarily good at accumulating charge and extraordinarily bad at releasing it. This is not a manufacturing defect. This is chemistry. It is what the material is. Now add a dry room. In a Sydney flat in winter with the heater running, the relative humidity can drop to 25 or 30%. In a listening room with the split system on, same thing. Low humidity strips ambient moisture from the air, and moisture is the primary natural conductor that helps charge dissipate harmlessly. Dry air is an insulator. It holds the charge in place. In a low humidity room, a record can carry a surface charge of 15 to 20,000 volts after a single play. The current is near zero, so it will not hurt you, but it will attract particles like a magnet. Continuously, invisibly, the record you just cleaned is now a particle trap, and you cannot see it happening because the particles are measured in microns. The carpet under your turntable makes it worse. Polyester clothing near the deck makes it worse. A felt mat on the platter, which is what most entry-level turntables ship with, makes it worse because felt and PVC sit at opposite ends of the triboelectric series, and their friction generates maximum charge transfer on every single play. Most people have never been told any of this. Most record cleaning guides never mention it. They focus on what's in the groove. The Japanese engineers who cracked this problem in the 1970s focused on what the groove was doing to the air around it. In the quality control divisions at Victor and Denon in Japan, engineers were treating records before mastering checks with a compound they called Chaku-den Shori, charge-discharge treatment. The specific formulation they returned to consistently was a conductive polymer solution, applied by hand using a directional technique that followed the groove spiral, allowed to dwell for a measured time, and then removed with a near-dry pass that left the polymer behind in the groove wall. The polymer is conductive. It does not wash off in one play. It alters the electrical behavior of the surface itself so that charge generated by the stylus bleeds away instead of accumulating. The record stops being a static magnet. The groove stops attracting particles mid-play. The crackle stops. This technique did not spread outside Japan. The polymer supply chains were inconsistent for Western manufacturers through the 80s and 90s, and the Western audiophile market was moving toward machine-based cleaning, ultrasonic, vacuum, wet clamp, which is genuinely useful for removing contamination but does not address static at all. The industry went one direction, the Japanese went another, and the Japanese records from that era, pressed by engineers who understood this problem and treated it at the source, are the reason Japanese pressings command a premium on the second-hand market today. They are not better because the vinyl is different. They are better because the electrical environment of the groove was managed differently from the start. The counterintuitive truth is this: the record does not need to be wetter to sound better. It needs to be more conductive. Those sound like the same thing to most collectors. They are opposite things. Wetter means more fluid, more rinse cycles, more machine time, more drying time. More conductive means one application of the right compound, applied by hand in the right direction, that changes the surface chemistry of the groove wall and stays there for weeks. Here is the full method, in the order you do it. The room first. This is where people skip ahead, and I need you not to skip ahead. Buy a hygrometer. A $12 digital one from Bunnings, any brand. The cheap ones are accurate enough. Put it in your listening room and look at the number. If the relative humidity is below 45%, every technique I am about to describe is fighting against the physics of your room. The target is 50 to 55% RH. In a dry Sydney winter, you will not hit that without adding moisture. A $35 ultrasonic humidifier, the Vicks V4600, is what I use. There are a dozen equivalent options at the same price. Run for 2 hours before a listening session brings a standard room from the low 30s up to 52% consistently. That single change, before you touch a single record, will reduce audible crackle by a measurable amount on your worst records. I know that sounds too simple to be the first step. It is still the first step. The dry pass. Before any fluid or treatment, every time you play a record, you do this. A carbon fiber brush. The AudioQuest anti-static record brush is $25, and it is the standard for a reason, held at a very slight inward angle toward the label, touching the groove surface lightly, one full revolution of the record while it spins. Then lift the brush off cleanly at the 6 o'clock position. Do not drag it off sideways. One revolution, inward angle, clean lift. This step takes 15 seconds. It is not cleaning. It is charge dissipation. The carbon fiber filaments are conductive and they bleed off the surface charge before the stylus ever touches the groove. Most people who own this brush use it wrong. They drag it back and forth across the record surface like they are brushing lint off a jacket. That motion generates as much charge as it removes. Follow the groove direction. 1 revolution. Lift at 6 o'clock. Do it every play, whether you have treated the record or not. The Chaku-den application. The product is Nagaoka CL-1000 Record Cleaner. It is a Japanese import. Search the exact name on eBay Australia, Nagaoka CL-1000, and you will find it. It ships from Japan in 8 to 12 days. Price is approximately $24, including postage, sometimes less. The applicator pad included in the bottle is adequate, but a Tonar Velvet Record Cleaning Pad, $18, gives better groove contact because the velvet fibers reach deeper into the groove geometry than the foam applicator. Apply 3 drops of the CL-1000 to the pad, not 5, not 10, 3 drops. Work it into the record surface in a concentric spiral motion. Follow the direction of the groove, the same direction the stylus travels, inward from the outer edge toward the label. This is the detail that makes the method work. The polymer chains in the solution align more effectively along the groove wall when the application direction matches the groove direction. Working across the groove, in the back and forth motion that feels natural, places the polymer chains perpendicular to the stylus path where they provide half the coverage. Follow the spiral, inward, steady pressure, not heavy. Dwell time is 60 seconds exactly. Set a timer on your phone, do not guess. The near dry removal. Take a clean microfiber cloth. The specific one is the sunshine cloth, which is a yellow lens cleaning cloth used by Japanese camera technicians. Daiso in Australia sells them at approximately $8 for a pack of 3. If you cannot find Daiso near you, search Sunshine Cloth Japan on eBay. Fold it to a small firm square. 1 firm pass across the record surface in the same concentric spiral direction, inward, same motion as the application. Moderate pressure, no pressure directly on the label area. The purpose is to remove the isopropyl carrier fluid from the CL-1000 while leaving the conductive polymer behind in the groove wall. When you finish this pass, the treated area will look slightly matte compared to the sheen it had before. That matteness is the polymer on the surface. It is correct. It is what you want. It will remain there for 40 to 60 plays before the stylus gradually works it out of the groove wall and you apply again. The grounding play. For the first play after treatment, use a grounded mat on the platter if you have one. The Funk Firm Acromat is $65 and it outperforms every felt mat at any price because it does not generate charge against PVC. A simple cork mat from any audio shop, $15, is a significant improvement over felt. The first play after treatment is the test. By side 2 of that first play, in nearly every case on records I have treated using this sequence, the crackle is gone, not reduced noticeably, gone. By the second full play, records that were unlistenable are silent in the quiet passages between tracks. The one thing worth stopping and rewinding for. The Chaku-den technique is not a substitute for wet cleaning on a dirty record. It is not a cleaner at all. It is a charge modifier. If you apply the CL-1000 to a record that still has contamination in the groove, you seal that contamination in place. The correct sequence is wet clean first. If the record is visibly dirty or has not been cleaned before, let it dry fully on a drying rack, 40 minutes minimum, and then apply the CL-1000 to the clean surface. What the wet clean does, the Chaku-den cannot do. What the Chaku-den does, the wet clean cannot do. These are different tools for different problems. The reason most collectors have never solved their crackle problem is that they only have one of the 2 tools and they are applying it to both problems. A record collection is not a cleaning project. That is the thing I had to understand before any of this made sense to me. The records in your collection, the ones that matter, the pressings you searched for, the ones you bought because nothing on streaming sounds like them, are irreplaceable. Not always in dollar terms, though original pressings of anything significant are worth real money now. Irreplaceable in the sense that the performance on that disc exists nowhere else in that exact form. The lacquer was cut in a specific mastering room by a specific engineer, listening to a specific tape on a specific day. That engineer is likely gone. The tape may be gone. The mastering room is probably gone. What remains is the record in your hand. And every play on a charged record, every play where contamination is being drawn into the groove in real time by static attraction, wears the groove wall in ways you cannot see and cannot reverse. The stylus is a diamond. The groove wall is PVC. At 40,000 contacts per second, airborne particles in the groove are microscopic chisels. The damage is silent and it is permanent. The Japanese audiophile community has a phrase for their approach to record care. Oto no taimni. For the sake of the sound, not for the ritual of cleaning, not for the satisfaction of a clean machine. For the actual sound that comes out at the end. That reframe changed everything about how I approach my collection. I am not maintaining equipment, I am protecting a recording. It is a different motivation, and it leads to better decisions at every step. Here is what to do tonight. Go to eBay Australia right now and search Nagaoka CL-1000. Order a bottle. It ships in 8 to 12 days. While it is on the way, go to Bunnings tomorrow and spend $12 on a hygrometer. Put it in your listening room. If the number is below 45, order a small ultrasonic humidifier and run it before your next serious session. In the meantime, do the dry pass carbon fiber brush routine on every record you play from now on. 1 revolution, inward angle, lift at 6 o'clock. It costs nothing if you already own the brush. If you do not own the brush, it is $25 and it is the single best value item in vinyl care. Do it every play. When the CL-1000 arrives, start with the record that crackles worst in your collection, the one you have given up on, the one you pull out occasionally, hear the snap on track 2, and put away again. Apply the method exactly as I described. 3 drops, concentric spiral following the groove direction, 60-second dwell, near dry pass with the sunshine cloth, and play it through both sides. Then drop a comment below. Tell me the record. Tell me the pressing if you know it. Tell me what the crackle was like before and what it is like after. I read every comment. I want specifics, not "it worked." The record, the side, what changed. The collection you have right now is the best version of that collection you will ever own. Every play changes it slightly. The question is only whether you are managing that change or ignoring it. $24 and 15 minutes of attention is the whole cost of managing it the way the Japanese engineers figured out 40 years ago in the pressing plants where the best sounding records in the world were being made. Next time, I am going to show you the Japanese record storage method that prevents warping before it starts. There is a specific shelf angle that almost nobody outside Japan uses, a specific inner sleeve material that behaves completely differently from standard polyethylene in Australian humidity levels, and the reason why every vertical record storage unit sold in this country is built in a configuration that makes warping more likely over time, not less. It is not what you expect. Once you see it, you will never store a record the same way again.